Why, hello there. My name is Terry Gross, and this is Fresh Air. Now, welcome into the Could Be Better podcast. My name is Chris Perry, and what we have right now is a read for two beers from one of our biggest, bestest sponsors out there. Before we get there, I do want to apologize as Chris Perry for saying, I've noticed in our video feeds how unflattering it looks when I, as Chris Perry, sit in a chair and my gut is hanging out. So from now on, I'm going to do the podcast naked. Morning Ritual is the name of the beer. It's called the Golden Breakfast Stout, 7%, 7% awesomeness, 93% greatness. It's formerly known as the Mouth Breather. That is Chris Perry. This Golden Breakfast Stout with cocoa nibs and coffee, then conditioned on French toast, is like breakfast in a glass, exclamation point. This is available on draft and in cans for to go. There's also one other beer that's coming out for Old Mother. Not that I'm reading this off their Instagram. It is called the Dire Wolf Double Hazy IPA, 7.9%. I'm into that. Anything or 16. If you want to get a 6.9, I'm in on that too. Hey, the wolf is back! Exclamation point. All citra hopped double IPA that is incredibly drinkable, and I do say incredibly drinkable because I haven't had a beer in years. Available on draft and cans to go. You can find this all at Old Mother, our fabulous friends on Market Street in Frederick, Maryland. How are you, Chris?
Wow, that was. I'm really glad this camera only shows me from the waist up, because that was one of the best reads we have ever done.
What can I say? That's because we had one of the best guests we've ever had.
Dude, what a cool episode. I had a great time being got, which again, folks that are listening can just tune in and just hear the embarrassment seep through your headphones or your speakers or whatever, however you listen to your podcast.
It's amazing how much Chris gets got here.
Guys, I got, real got. So, speaking of got, though, you know what's got us? Texas Roadhouse Fever. Season 2 sponsors. Love of my life. I've never eaten a steak that has tasted as good. When we ate there a couple weeks ago, we actually had a fan fest. It was crazy. They don't throw peanuts on the floor anymore, which, by the way, I had a hospital visit based on a peanut reaction. So really avoiding all that now with my life, and it was not fun. But Texas Roadhouse, though, again, love of my life. And we go there all the time, and we eat all of the free bread and then get like 2 beers. It's awesome. Now, what's great is we just talked about getting got, and we also talked about how you listen to the podcast. So we need 2 things. If you have not subscribed to our YouTube channel, you need to subscribe to our YouTube channel. We're at like 46 measly listeners, and our goal for this season was 100, and we are way off, like Samsonite, way off. And we need you to subscribe to our YouTube channel, number 1. And then number 2, you need to tell us how you're listening. Your iPhone, your Android, your car, your Android in your car, your Google Home Mini, your HomePod.
How could this get onto somebody's car without the Android or the iPhone?
Maybe it's like they have a YouTube app that's built in through their car and they have a data plan. Think big, Colin. It's 2023. Anything can happen.
I don't know. I have a Prius. I don't even have a screen.
Hey, I don't have a screen either. I have to like use my head to look back when I go to back up.
Or working lights. I don't have lights either. Flashing.
Abe can fix it. So shout out to Abe. You owe me $20 for that t-shirt, buddy. All right. So again, for folks to win a $50 gift card for first-time listeners that are joining us from the Suburban Avenger Instagram and the Suburban Avenger 5,000 people family that he tucks in each night. That's a full-time job, by the way.
Wow.
Crazy. You can get your first and only $50 gift card from us if you subscribe to our YouTube channel and then tell us in the YouTube channel or in this episode comments how you're listening right now. First person that gets it, which again, episodes drop at midnight, so maybe Luke will get it, which would be hysterical. You get a $50 gift card from Texas Roadhouse. So thank you, Texas Roadhouse, for trusting us to seduce our listeners to eat your steaks, salads, and bread. Colin. Mostly the bread. To Colin, I have enjoyed tonight that we've not had to like set up all the stuff in their studio and tear down all the stuff in our studio, but I do miss smelling you.
I do too. You know, I smell very good all of the time. And
most times.
I'm thankful to be able to smell myself. Speaking of smelling things, had anybody out there ever walked through Union Station in Washington D.C. at about 3 o'clock in the afternoon on any given weekday? Because you get so many smells. It begins with pot. We'll start with pot. You smell marijuana. From there, it kind of turns into a little bit of garbage. You just smell hot garbage, kind of like this podcast. After that, you kind of get a coffee smell because there's this big old coffee place that people like to go to in Union Station. From there, it's up to you. Do you go to Auntie Anne's? Do you go to McDonald's? Do you go to Sbarro's? Chris, what would you do?
I would just go home.
This is my life every day.
This is your life and you choose to live it. And I'm glad you do every single day.
It's my life.
Dun, dun, dun. We owe them like $1 million now.
Yeah.
Speaking of owing people $1 million, we have a ton of shows coming up at Old Mother Brewing Company, which we've talked a bunch about. But again, this is our show where we push our shows about our show. So if you're not ready, if you want to skip forward the next like 2 minutes, folks, I just want to hear Luke talk about the amazing things that he's done in his career versus the things that we are doing for local music in Frederick, Maryland. Skip now. We have 4-5 shows. Like I just can't even keep up anymore. Friday, March 24th, hardcore show, Noxious, Resistor, and Senseless on tour from New York. Delunda, Indicted, Old Mother, Brewing Company, 6:30 p.m. It's free, all ages, 21 plus to drink. Show's done by 10. Why aren't you here? That's literally tomorrow. I'll see you there. I'm running sound. It's going to be a terrible time. Then we have Tuesday night, April 4th, the Vens, Stop, Drop, and Rewind from Indiana on tour. It's a Tuesday night. Show up. Please give them your money. They're an awesome prog pop band. Shout out to Ken Eaton, big long listener of the show. Will love this band. I hope he's there. And then Dumb Valley is opening up the show as well. It's going to be a banger of a time. You know what it is? It is a 3-piece fest night, and I'm excited. Just kidding. Dumb Valley's not a 3-piece.
Yeah,
and yeah. But hey, I created the 3-piece night. Whatever.
Okay. Still bitter about that.
Yeah. Always bitter. Hashtag always bitter. That could be our new tagline. All right. Bitter, and then we have Friday, April 14th, although Slot from Baltimore, Cosmic Halitosis, and Average Joey on tour, busking it up for the first opener of the show. Again, Friday, April 14th, 4 days before Colin's birthday at Old Mother, 6:30 p.m., all ages, free. And the show's done by 10. And finally, I guess we have a couple more shows. Do I keep going? Do you think people tune out?
Yeah, they definitely tune out at this point.
We'll
take care of the other ones.
We'll take care of it. It's all there.
More, I tried the spicy Arby's sandwich. I wanted to talk about that. I haven't tried that yet. One
more thing before we get spicy Arby's sandwich. All of these shows are on our website, couldbebettermeh.com/shows, or you can just go to couldbebettermeh.com and you can click on shows. It's all there. Our calendar's there. We make it really silly easy for you to find stuff. And yes, I actually had the spicy chicken sandwich from Burger King the other day, and it was not good.
Really? What was not good about it?
Like everything. The bread bun tasted like plastic. The onion rings were soggy. And
that was your COVID meeting your allergies.
Dude, it was awful. Between going to the ER for having a terrible peanut reaction, shout out to all my peanut allergy Could Be Better Nation fans. It was awful. Couldn't breathe. I barely got to the hospital before I was wheezing so much they could hear me, and they admitted me in 10 seconds. It was awful. Was there for 6 hours. They gave me an epinephrine shot, and then I went home, and then they chastised me for not having an EpiPen. I'm like, I know. I've never had this bad of a reaction before, and it's never been this bad. So I never had to get one.
What happened? What did you eat? Did you eat an M&M?
So there's this stupid holiday in the United States that's celebrated called Valentine's Day. And I got my wife nice flowers, and I got her nice flowers and a nice text. And so what ended up happening is then later on that week, I went to the grocery store to get baby food, because what else do you do on a Friday night but get baby food for your almost 1-year-old? And I go to the store and I walk into our local Food Lion. Shout out to whoever runs Food Lion.
That place sucks.
Yeah, it does. And so I go in and they have a giant, Colin, like a U-sized heart full of Whitman's candy. And
you gave it to me.
Yeah, and it was 50% off, so I got it, of course.
So I actually got 25%. Yeah.
Yeah. And so what ended up happening was I opened it up, looked at the chart that showed all the different sizes of all the things and what the flavors were and all that kind of stuff. And so I looked at it and said, hey, I'm going to grab a couple of these. And I ate a bunch of all the flavors. So I've had one of whatever I could have because there was a lot of peanut stuff in there. So I was like, okay, I can have like the caramel stuff. I can have like the coconut stuff. I can have the cashew stuff. Mm-hmm. And then something happens where either it was a lapse of judgment, either my brain deceived me or something happened, but I ended up putting something that had peanut butter, which is like a high concentration of peanuts, in my baggie that I put in the fridge. Problem with putting chocolates with stuff inside in the fridge is that you can't smell it when you eat it. So then I run a show at Old Mother. No, I hang out at a show at Old Mother for a quick second. I see you there. That was
the one.
Yeah, we have a great time. We're throwing darts, slinging beers, having a great time at Old Mother.
That was me throwing darts.
No. Asshole. We were doing it together. Anyway, you just don't remember. You just don't remember.
I did. I actually didn't. I can't drink the beer.
And so I end up eating you love the beer. Thank you, Old Mother.
I do. Yes. Sponsor. I didn't mean to say that. Yes.
Yeah. So we end up, I end up like getting home later. I make myself a little snack before bed because, hey, I'm stressed and tired. So what do you do before bed? You eat. So I have a little bit of something, and then I'm like, oh, I still have those chocolates in the fridge. So I go into the bag and I grab a piece, and I'm like, oh, this is pretty good. I'll have my second piece and then I'll go to bed. Well, that second piece made my tongue start to tinkle. I'm like, shit. And so typically when that happens, I'm like, okay, let me brush my teeth. I'm going to take some Benadryl. I'll be okay. And so then from there, my stomach's kind of upset. So I throw up some and I'm like, okay, this is fine. Oh, God. And then that's midnight. And then 2:00 comes along and I'm like so warm. Like I'm so hot. And I like get out of bed and I'm like, my stomach hurts. And I'm like, if I throw up again, it's going to rip it all up and it's going to inflame everything else against. I'm like, I just don't feel good. And then I like looked at my hands and I started to feel my hands and they were tingly and I lost like pretty much like feeling in my hands. And they were hot and they were just weird. And I'm like, what's going on? So I turn on the lights. They are red. Like it looks like, those new shoes that are out that look like the Sonic shoes that are like, you slip inside of them and they look, you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, I do. Yeah.
It was like that, but with like hands. Like I was almost like I was like hamburger helper size hands. Like it was awful. And I'm like, oh no, dude, I tried. So I am like, oh no. And then my tongue hurts and I'm like, this is not good. And then I look into the mirror and my face is real red. I'm like, shit. And so then I wake up my wife. I'm like, hey, I need to drive to the hospital right now. My hands are hot. My hands are swollen. Like I'm starting to have trouble breathing. And at that point I started to wheeze and I was like, I got like probably less than 30 minutes to get to the hospital before something happens. So anyway, I get to the hospital and Frederick House takes care of me. They get me in and get me out within about 6 hours. And it was not fun.
Why don't you get a fucking EpiPen?
I have one. I have two now. One's in my messenger bag that I carry around with me everywhere. And then one is at home as well. So shout out to Frederick Health to making sure I was taken care of. And it was not fun. But yeah, Valentine's for suckers and for people that are allergic to peanuts. I feel you, man. It's not fun.
Chris has dominated this opening. Yes,
dude. But what is fun? What is fun?
What's his name? Steve? Mick?
His name's Steve Martin. So we have Luke Martin, Suburban Avenger from Baltimore, who still lives there and never worked for In-N-Out Burger. Luke was kind enough to come on from Nashville. He's living there now. He's working at the Nashville Country Hall of Fame, right? Doing some cool things.
It's the Country Music Hall of Fame. There's no Nashville Country Hall of Fame.
Whatever.
God damn.
It's all the same thing. Country's overrated. Anyway, So we're at this point where we're talking
especially
about
this country.
Boom. Roasted. We are all about talking to him about fun things and new things that I didn't know. He talks about the print shop process. He talks about his career. He talks about the cool bands that he's done stuff for. Everything is in the show notes for where you can find his stuff. I had a great time, even though I feel like I got. So this is Luke sharing his hometown pride. And this song is called Mystery by Turnstile. Thanks, Luke, for coming on the show at Suburban_Avenger on Instagram. Great interview. Love you, Colin. Bye.
it's been so long, so the mystery gone, and it's been so long, all the mystery.
Okay, we are here. I have one question immediately. I said no words in the pre-show meeting, so this is going to be awkward for everybody involved. But you said you're in Nashville, Luke, correct?
Yeah.
I am a very big music person, and I have been to most all of the Hall of Fames that deal with music. For my money, the best music Hall of Fame in the country is the Country Music Hall of Fame. I want to know if you've ever been there.
That is the building that I work in.
Oh,
That is why I'm here. So
look at that.
I spend 40 hours a day or 40 hours a week in there. So
What are you doing there?
so I'm actually doing an internship right now at a Hatch Show Print, which is the letterpress print shop located in the Country Music Hall of Fame. And they've been around for almost 150 years. They make all the posters for the Ryman in Nashville. They make posters for a bunch of other venues all across the country. And I mean, if you Google them, you've seen their work. Like it's hard to mistake a Hatch poster. And they have internships, and it's a 6-week long internship, and just want to learn something new. And I love Nashville. I love live music. So that's what I'm here for.
It's a great place for both of those things. It really is.
What are you learning specifically? Like,
So basically I'm learning a new print medium. Because so most of my work to this point has all been screen printing. Just screen printing, doing gig posters and all that kind of stuff. But recently I've been feeling just really burned out on it. And that was kind of the little break I took last year was because of that, just because I wasn't really feeling inspired or motivated by any of the work that I was doing. And so then I was kind of like, why am I still doing this if this isn't doing anything for me? And this shop, basically how it functions is it's all hand set wood type blocks. So it's like every letter that you see on one of these posters is like a hand set block that you kind of set into like this grid, or it's hard to explain the process because like I'm still learning the process myself. But it's a lot of manual tactile production in a printmaking form, I guess. And so it's like working on these posters at Hatch. You go from start to finish in the process, like without touching a computer once. Like from start of the design to creating the print to putting the actual thing together that will be used to make the print and then printing, there is zero screen time involved. Which is
amazing. Yeah,
it's truly it's one of the most traditional printmaking forms still in use today. And this shop has been around since like I think like 1878 or something like that. And it is one of the longest continuously running print shops in the country.
Nashville has a lot of that, it seems. And you're there, and I haven't been there for too many years for me to remember, but there's a record store in Nashville too, where people used to come and cut records back years in like in the 50s and 40s. Do you know what I'm talking about? Where you would just
you might be talking about Ernest Tubbs.
Yes, that is what I'm talking. Yeah.
So unfortunately, it closed down.
This is the worst.
I think it closed down in like 2021, I want to say.
Really?
Which is really kind of a tragedy because I mean, like you said, it really was an institution. But also is right there on Broadway, which is the busiest strip, and I can't imagine there are a lot of bachelorette parties going into Ernest Tubbs record store to flip through the bins there.
That's true. That's an indictment on all the bachelor parties, right?
That's so I know that the shop on Broadway is closed, but I haven't looked into it. I would definitely be curious to know if there was some sort of preservation kind of going underway to kind of carry that legacy on. I'm sure there's probably something, in the works to save that, that little piece of Nashville history.
I hope
Yeah.
so.
Yeah, I mean, if our little old town here in Frederick has certain things that are made historic, I feel like that should be something that Nashville takes care of as well.
But that's kind of the thing, is that for something to be made historic, people have to care about it, so hopefully the right people start caring about Ernest Tubbs Record Store and
start a petition.
That's right.
Yeah. I'll make that my side quest while I'm here.
Yeah.
We'll have you on in another 6 months. We'll see if we get it done. That's
Perfect.
So Luke, the last time I remember seeing like a big life move that you talked about, you were doing screen printing in Baltimore, and then all of a sudden I saw that you were going to be doing something with In-N-Out, and then all of a sudden I see you're in Denver. Tell us like how you kind of got to the space you're in now, because for folks that don't know, obviously in the show notes we have his Instagram, his website, buy his shit. It's all awesome. It's over here on my wall. You can't see it here, but maybe we'll do something later and you can cringe. But kind of just walk us through how you kind of got into what you do now. I guess it's like you do screen printing, you do illustrating, you do all sorts of different things.
Well, I feel like I should say, for the record, I'm not totally sure what you're referencing about In-N-Out. I did.
Oh, seriously?
Yeah, I did like a bootleg logo shirt back in like 2018 or 2019.
I have that one. I thought there was, so it's probably, I can look through something. I'll look through your Instagram later and we'll talk about it, and you can shame me. But I swear there was something you were like, guys, I'm moving out to California to go work for In-N-Out.
I specifically remember that was an April Fool's joke in 2017.
Dude, I literally was like, dude, what is he doing? I mean, like, I get it. That's freaking sweet. I love In-N-Out Burger more than I should.
Go back and find the post, April 1st, 2017.
This is my favorite moment on this podcast ever.
Guys, I am so embarrassed. But so again, tell us how you got from Baltimore to Denver.
I also just want to say I'm going to request that you don't edit that In-N-Out segment. I think that's great. I think
it is staying, and I got had, and I got, and that's what we're going to do.
Well, and also with Denver, I'm not like moving to Denver in Denver. I'm doing like a pop-up shop thing there. There's like a gallery there that I'm doing like a little pop-up event there in the beginning of June.
Which we will have in the show notes for folks and listeners that are in the Denver area. So then is home still in Baltimore then? And you're just
home's in Baltimore.
That's awesome.
Do you have like your favorite places to go in Baltimore?
My apartment.
Your bed, right?
Yeah. I'm kind of in this phase right now where my apartment that I have is like my first time having like my own apartment. Like truly just my own space completely to myself. And that's I mean that's been kind of my oasis, my safe space. Got all my plants and everything, got all my records. But I mean, as far as actual places in Baltimore, Druid Hill Park, got some great biking there. And then I don't know, I'm trying to think of what else. Chaps Pit Beef. That's a big one.
They've expanded all the way up to Frederick now. We have one of those. Yeah. We have a Chaps in Frederick.
Hopefully we'll get a Pizza and Pretzel Creations down in Baltimore one day and it'll balance out.
Hey, next time you come through, Pizza Pretzel on us.
Yes.
I'm going to take you up on that.
Especially on Chris, since Chris just fucked up your whole resume right there. He just fucked up everything.
Hey, tell me about all these places you didn't go and you definitely don't actually do anything there. Like,
what about that shirt you did for Chaps Beef? I remember that. It was a bootleg shirt.
I'm holding out that they call me to do a shirt for the Gold Club one day. That's the real mission.
But speaking of like doing merch for cool things like Chaps, like you've done. And as far as I know, it's not an April Fool's joke, but you've done cool posters for bands like the Grateful Dead, like Death Cab for Cutie, Circa Survive. Mm-hmm. How did that happen? Is it just you're sending letters saying, "Hey, Anthony Green, you want to let me do this poster for you?"
Just like, please hire me.
Exactly.
No, so basically kind of how it happened. I guess the elevator pitch of my life story is I've been drawing and illustrating my entire life, and then when I went to Towson. I went to Towson University in Maryland, and well, I guess actually backtracking even more. When I was in high school, I discovered gig posters, and I was like, I was so into music, I was so into illustration, and gig posters were so cool to me because that was just like the marriage of like both of these things that I was like really, really interested in. And so when I discovered them, I was just like, that's what I want to do with my life. Like this is what I want to do. And at like 16 years old, I was like, I want to be a gig poster artist. And so I went to college at Towson and I studied screen printing. And then once I got access to the print studio there, I basically just like went just right out of the gate. And I was just like, I was pretty much spending all of my time there in the studio, printing as much as I can. Like I would spend my days in classes, like, designing these screen prints and setting up the layers and everything and like hand drawing each layer of these prints. And then in the evenings, it's like I'd stay up all night and just like make these prints for myself. And so it was a lot of kind of just like hustling like that. And then, I was sharing my stuff on like Instagram and like even Tumblr and Facebook and all that stuff. And eventually this guy Lou found my work who, he works with different venues and he'll like hire artists to create these posters. And he found my work and he was just like, hey man, like you want to make gig posters? And I was like, that's all I've ever wanted to do. And so I started doing some stuff with him. And then right around the same time that I was doing stuff with him, I wrote down, I wish I still had this list. I don't know if it's a physical list or a digital list because I really can't remember. But I wrote down a list of my 100 favorite bands. And I sent an email to every single one of them. And I think I heard back from like 5 and they're like, yeah, like, we'll hook you up, give you like, or, maybe we could do something in the future. But there were a few bands that like I did get to do some work for. Like I got to do some work for Death Cab. I got to do some work for Rainbow Kitten Surprise. I like kind of got to do a brand new poster once upon a time. And it's funny because like I didn't hear back from a lot of these bands in that moment, but now, 5 years down the line, I have gotten to work for just about all of my favorite bands, which has been a crazy experience. And yeah, so it's been a ride. And I kind of just started working, like some of my first posters were for like Circa and like The Head and the Heart, and Death Cab. And so I kind of started working with like some smaller bands and then it sort of just built on that and built on that. And 2019 was like a big like breakthrough year for me. And that's when like honestly 2018 too, like by the end of 2018, when I was like just over a year and a half in, like that was when I did my first posters for like Foo Fighters and Childish Gambino and Nine Inch Nails. And then I did like my first Fish poster. And then, Dave Matthews, Eddie Vedder. So it really just, it built from there, it all really just builds on itself. And yeah, and then, 2020, I got to do some work for Grateful Dead, like through their estate, which were a few really big releases that we had. And yeah, and that's,
well, I'm so curious. I'm so curious about this because you just have a laundry list of people that anybody out there would be, honored to work with. That's incredible. And you're in Nashville now, interning at the Country Music Hall of Fame, and you don't have to get into any specifics at all, but I am wondering, like, the life of a person who wants to do these posters or illustrations for these types of bands. You can't get much bigger than how you've gotten. Like, is that a like a sustainable life? Is that something that you could do if you just wanted to do that forever?
You could, you could. When I was kind of at like, I guess the height of, I guess like the my fever pitch of working, I've kind of just been building towards burnout for years. And I think end of 2021 was when like, I finally cracked. Because, most of my work life, I mentioned when I started screen printing, it's like I would do screen printing overnight. And, I was kind of just like destroying my sleep schedule, destroying my body. And then I eventually started outsourcing my printing. So I was just illustrating and then I had print shops printing my work. but like I was still staying up all night just illustrating for weeks and weeks and months. And that was just so much of my life, was just putting in this hustle, but just like an unhealthy degree.
Mhm.
Um, but I mean, I
So what,
definitely I could have eased back and found a more sustainable pace. And I think that's kind of what I'm trying to find now is like, the pace I was working at, I always knew it wasn't going to be sustainable forever. Like no one can work 100 hours. I mean, not actually 100 hours, but probably, like 80 hours a week every week. Like that's not a way to live. And so I think through this time off, I'm trying to sort of, figure out a way that I can do this forever and be happy and have like a better quality of life doing this forever.
how important was it to do that hustle though, to like engage for all that time, for those 80-hour weeks? Like, do you think that, how much did that help get you to
I
where
mean,
you are now?
it got me here.
Yeah.
I think that's kind of what I come back to is I'm really, I couldn't imagine, going back in time to 2017, I couldn't imagine like looking into the future and seeing just how much work I was about to do over the next few years because it was just truly so much work. But then also now I look back on these last few years and I'm like, I can't believe that like that's all stuff that I did, like that's all work that I've done that will always be out there and will always exist. And I think it was important for me to put in that hustle. And I think like I'm sure I would have had a career even working at like a slower pace, but I knew what I wanted and I went after it. And yeah,
Gotta get that bread, as the kids say.
exactly. Making the damn donuts, man. That's all it
Hey,
is.
so is it so it's better now?
Um, to be determined, I didn't really do any gig posters or anything throughout 2021 or throughout 2022. And then this year I've started working on some other projects and like I have a few gig posters coming up later in the year. And I feel like I'm at a better, more stable point in my life where it's like I can hopefully implement like a healthier work schedule. But I still have a few months until I have to start working on these projects. And so I'm trying to get going on them now. So it'll basically just like I think I'll know when I get there. And I'll see if I'm able to sort of hold myself to this like schedule in my brain. And I
Sure.
think that will kind of be the deciding factor. But I'm also at a point where I'm not sure if like going back to gig posters full time is something that like I really want to do with my life. So I feel I'm at a bit of a crossroads right now, I think.
Sure. Well, it's nice you at least have options, and you don't feel like you have
Yeah.
any. It's like, oh, I have to do this in order to survive. It's nice you kind of have different
Yeah.
avenues, I guess.
Well, so you asked not you, I'm sorry, I forgot your name.
Which one?
Colin.
Me? Colin? Oh man. Oh
Colin,
fuck
I'm
this,
sorry.
man.
I'm so
Wow,
bad
I'm
at
done.
names.
Goodbye.
Colin and Chris. Colin. Um he's gone. He's out.
He's stretching. He's old.
I
No,
won't
it's
believe I'm probably the worst guest you've ever had on this
no.
podcast.
No,
No,
it's not.
no. You're definitely
That's
not.
not true.
Well,
That's
so
not
Colin,
true.
Colin, you asked about like how important putting that hustle forward
Mhm.
was. And I think it's because that I put in all of that time in such a short amount of years that like I am able to explore my different options now, and
Right.
it's like it's not like I'm bound to doing just gig posters and like I can do things like, fuck off and do a 6 week long unpaid internship in Nashville
Right.
and learn a new skill simply because it's
Mhm.
something that I want to do.
Yeah,
Um,
which is perfect too. I mean, is there anything outside of the art realm that you would want to do? Like, is a plan B working at In and Out, which Chris swears you worked at forever?
I don't think I could ever do something not creative. I think that's kind of what I always come back to is like I could never imagine not being someone who makes things. I feel like it's like embedded in my DNA, which like I don't know. I feel like that's what like every artist says, but it truly it's like when you kind of when it's such a part of you, it's like I could never imagine walking away from that completely. I think I'm trying to find a way to sort of restructure things so that it's like I can feel this fulfillment and feel this joy for work again. And I don't know. I want to do it forever.
Yeah. That's awesome. And so we're going to kind of segue into our next thing. So speaking of creating forever, speaking of wanting to do this forever, speaking of not being able to help yourself creating things, we have our specialty segment where we're going to talk, give you 5 rapid fire questions, five in total. So don't feel too much pressure.
Okay.
But so for folks that are tuning in, special-tees.com, you can get 10% off your first order if you tell them Could Be Better sent you. You can get your shirts, your hats, your koozies, all sorts of cool things done. So again, it's special-tees.com and tell them Could Be Better sent you for 10% off your first order. Luke, I'm going to let Colin kick this off because he has asked better questions and he doesn't believe your April Fool's bullshit.
Yeah, well, and you don't even know my name, so you can fuck off with that. So here we go. Question number 1. Question number 1. Is there, I mean, I'm sure there has to be a musical artist or a band that you've wanted to illustrate for, that you've wanted to do a gig poster for, that you haven't done yet. Who is that? Who would you have wanted to do that with?
I feel like I could think of like 5.
Give us the 5 then. Give us
but I mean, the first one that came to my mind immediately was a Manchester Orchestra.
Oh wow!
Yeah,
okay.
I think they're a top one. Lord Huron's another one that I'd really love to do something for. Bruce Springsteen. Yeah.
King. The king.
You don't have a lot more years left to get that done.
Yeah, I'm running out of time on that one. Yeah, those are my 3.
Okay, that's fair. Chris?
Least favorite and most favorite prints you've done so far?
Least favorite. I did a poster for the Disco Biscuits back in like 2019, I think. And I had about 2 days to get the whole thing done. And I hate it. I hate that poster. I never want to look at it again. And then as far as favorite poster goes, I'm going to pick 3. I'm going to pick 3, and I could even give you 3 other least favorites, or 2 other least favorites. So it's my 3 favorites and 3 least favorites. So my second least favorite was I did another poster for Joe Russo's Almost Dead, or J-Rad, in 2019. And I did 2 for them, but the second one I did, really not a fan of, really don't like how that one turned out. And it was just another one that I look at, I'm just like, yeah, I really rushed that one. And then one other least favorite one, probably this poster I did for I don't even remember the name. I'm trying to think of, I can picture the poster because it was originally meant to be a poster for Social Distortion, and then that didn't happen, and so it became a poster for someone else in like 2017 in my first year. Mavericks, the Mavericks. That's the band's name. Couldn't tell you a single song by them. Don't know a single thing about the band, but also least favorite. But my 3 favorites, I did my first diptych, or this pair of posters I did for the Avett Brothers in 2019. That's like the couple on the bicycle. That's always been a long favorite of mine, just because that's one of the ones where it's like, you know how it's like as an artist, it's like you'll picture something in your mind and you picture this really cool thing, but then you actually do it and it's like, oh, that doesn't look nearly as cool as I pictured it. That poster, it turned out exactly how I pictured it, and so that's always been a really special one to me. My third Grateful Dead poster, because that was kind of just the culmination of like so many years of work, and that, you know, I worked on that during like a really kind of like transitional period in my life, and so I just kind of have a lot of like really fond memories sort of attached to it. So that one, and then I did a poster for Guns N' Roses recently. Actually, like I guess that was like my most recent poster. And I think it kind of got like a mixed response, because I mean, I not many people listen to Guns N' Roses, you know, Guns N' Roses. But I'm really, really proud of how that poster turned out. I spent 2.5 months on it. And which is the longest amount of time that I've put into one singular poster. And it was interesting because I feel like any other time, if a poster didn't really get the reception I was hoping for, then like I would have kind of been like, oh, like what did I do wrong? Like what's wrong with the poster? You know, why didn't people like this? But with that one, I sort of, I talked earlier about putting in a lot of this work to try to get myself to like a healthier working balance and work-life balance. And that was a project that like I made a lot of really big strides in to sort of get to that point. And so I think I was able to give myself a lot of personal fulfillment and validation through that release and through working on that.
That's awesome.
So, yeah.
That's great.
All right. Question 3. I'll make it quicker.
No, that was perfect. What is the one thing that you are passionate about that has absolutely nothing to do with the arts?
Film photography.
That's still kind of arts.
I mean, yeah, I guess it's kind of arts in its own way. But
what makes you say film photography though? I'll follow up with that.
Just because that's something that I picked up in the last few months where it's just something I enjoy doing. Like I spent back in January, I spent like 5 days or like 4 days in New York. And I spent the whole thing just like going to art museums and then walking around and just like taking pictures. And it's like I just enjoy just taking pictures, like experimenting with different processes through film and everything. And I think for me it's really special. It feels special because it's like art was my hobby for so long, and then it became my job, and it was like this thing that I was making all my money off of. And so I never found anything to replace that as a hobby. And I feel like through film, this is the first time since like 2017 that I've had a hobby in this thing that I do like just for fun, So that and records, I love sitting and just like one thing I've really loved in this apartment that I have now is just the act of like, it's like music is always such a background piece to life. You always listen to music while you're doing things. But I've really enjoyed just listening to a record and just like sitting on my couch, not doing anything, but just sitting and like listening to this record and like picking apart all the different parts of it, all the layers of the production and everything, and just, pouring over the lyrics and stuff. Which, I mean, you asked something not related to the arts, and both of those things are related to the arts. So like,
that's okay. That's okay.
You can't escape it. Not
everything
my question.
comes back to the arts. Yeah,
it does. It really does.
Not my question, but what was the last record you did that with?
Last record I did that with. Right before I came down to Nashville, I did that with Ants From Up There by Black Country New Road, which if it's a real kind of niche record. I have not met a lot of people who have listened to it, but whenever I do, I instantly become their best friend. But if you're looking for a very, very good listen, I cannot recommend that album enough.
All right. My question is a little inside baseball. So you mentioned your Guns N' Roses poster took you months. Mm-hmm. When somebody approaches you and they say, hey, this thing works, for people that might be aspiring illustrators or just fans of your process or wanting to know how the process works, how do you bill for something like that? Like, how do you tell someone this is like a 2-month rate for a flyer? Because there's obviously that balance of, I want to do a fucking Guns N' Roses poster. That's incredible, like a bucket list item. But then there's also the, hey, I want to be picked to do this too. Like, I can't just say $10,000. You know what I mean? Like, that's just not how that works either. So like, how do you kind of navigate that, and what's that like? And you don't have to go into specifics, but just kind of like, how does that work?
Well, so with a lot of it, when I get approached about a job, or when I'm in the beginning stages of, I'm like, is this something I want to do? Yes or no? I'll kind of have a general idea of like, how much it'll make me through like design fee. But then a lot of this payout comes from selling my artist copies of whatever poster that I do, after the fact. And so it's really not so much, I don't exactly get to call the shots on most of it. Most of the time it's like, this is the deal. This is what you get. Yes or no. And so it's like, I'll say yes or no. And, it's like there's with Guns N' Roses, for example, it's like I'd spent 2.5 months on that. And there are posters that took me 2.5 weeks that made me more money than this Guns N' Roses poster did, And so it's really kind of, it's not so much to me. It's not so much between me and these band managers and stuff. It's between like me and me, it's like, it's up to me to decide if like, my time is worth it, if this feels like a job that will be worth it in the end. And then kind of just going from there.
Do you typically, and sorry, subset question, do you typically get to like set the, hey, like, I guess, is it normal for you to be like, hey, I'm going to do this poster for you for the show or for whatever, but then I want to sell artist prints in my store? Is that typically kosher, or is it like?
Yeah, I mean, that's pretty much 99% of the time, most bands, that's kind of the arrangement that they have. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Cool.
And honestly, I don't know. I don't know that I ever would do a gig poster for a band if I didn't get to have my own copies to sell, unless they paid me like an insane design fee outright, or if it was like, I don't know, some like Taylor Swift or something, like
sure.
something where that clout and that exposure would be very well worth that opportunity.
Sure.
Lucky for you, she subscribes to this podcast, so
Hell
there's
yeah.
a chance she's going to reach out.
All right, ask her
her
if she can give me some tickets too
this summer. Yes, the Midnight's tour. So this is the final question, and then we'll get you out of here. I have to ask you this: you're in Nashville. Where's your favorite place to eat?
My go-to has been Robert's Western World. Okay. That's what the only authentic honky tonk on Broadway. But honestly, it is kind of like the one authentic spot on Broadway. When I first got here on like not this Sunday that just passed, but the Sunday before, I came here, I unpacked, I walked down there, and I just sat at the bar for 3 hours and just watched the house band play, and it was the best night that I had here. But my favorite place to eat, they have the recession special, which for $6 gets you a PBR and a fried bologna sandwich, which honestly,
that's perfect.
Not bad. It's really not that bad.
For $6 awesome. Too, you can't get any better.
You can't beat it. Yeah. I mean, for a $6 meal, like it could be like dog shit on bread, and you can't complain about it. Like
that's what I'm having.
You could complain about it, but you get the point.
Yeah. Luke, thanks so much for coming on. Thanks for answering our questions, putting up with the bullshit, and forgetting Colin's name. So just a couple things.
I'm so sorry. I'll get it next time.
We want to push a couple things. So one, your shop, Suburban, again, all of these links will be in our show notes. So suburbanavengerart.com currently is out of office, but you can get 20% off now if you use the promo code Everybody Wins. Again, suburbanavengerart.com. Promo code Everybody Wins, 20% off through April. So this podcast comes out.
You're such a salesman. You got this down.
I'm here.
It's embarrassing. That's why everybody knows his name and not mine.
God, but it's embarrassing.
Well, Colin, were we chatting in 2017? Were you buying my posters in 2017?
Dude, I've spent hundreds of dollars on your posters.
I was buying posters for fucking stocking stuffers, guys. People hated me that year. It was amazing. All right, so we have your website where you can get tons of cool shit. Every fucking year. People hate my gifts. But we have two other things to push. Obviously, your Instagram, which is where we all know and love you, which is just at Suburban_Avenger. But the cool thing I didn't know about is you have a Facebook fan group. How much do you care about this Facebook fan group on a scale of 0 to 10?
They're like my 5,000 little children.
5,000. That's like almost as many followers as we have on this podcast, Luke. That's amazing.
I say goodnight to each and every one of them every night.
I wish you could tuck me in. Speaking of tucking in, Luke, this was a blast. And I am a sucker, and I fall for all of your internet tricks. And please don't ever try to sell me extended auto insurance, because I will buy it from you because I'm a loser. Anyway, appreciate you a bunch. Thanks for your time. Enjoy Nashville. I will like to say, can you please eat at McDougal's Chicken if you eat chicken?
Yes,
they give you free ice cream when you go there, and it's incredible.
Okay.
And they give you cups you can take home, and I have 3 of them, and I still use them to this day. They don't fade. Yeah. It's crazy.
McDougal's
Chicken, and it's in the same neighborhood that Fido is. So if you like Haley Williams,
it's not on Broadway.
Eat shit, Colin. I'm talking about my love of my life, Haley Williams. So she goes to Fido's, which is a super hip coffee bar. And they have I know you like coffee, but they have this latte. Okay, we're gonna get out of here. But they have a latte called the Milk Bone, and it's like a vanilla and honey latte, and it feels like you're eating a dog biscuit in coffee. It's just delicious.
That sounds amazing. I'm there. I'm here for it.
All right, Luke, thank you so much for your time. Again, Suburban Avenger, everywhere you need to go. This has been a blast.
The Could Be Better podcast is allegedly heard in 25 different countries around the world, and definitely still not recorded in a bedroom.
Yeah, okay. Still, check out our worldwide website, www.couldbebettermeh.com, for links to our social media and our fancy brand new revamped YouTube channel that now has actual video.
And if you don't like what you see, well, neither do we. But if you want to hear from smarter, better, more educated and cultured people, please check out the new podcasts. This Is Not My Magnum Opus and The Weekly with Kiki on our brand new Could Be Better podcast network. And don't hesitate to leave us or them, actually, probably just them, a 5-star review wherever you listen to podcasts. Now, Chris, did I miss anything?
Yeah, man, we do a lot of shows. Whatever.
Well, can I find them on our website?
I'm Chris Perry.
And I'm Colin McGuire, and we are out of time. So for now, remember, everybody, this always could be better.